The module master sheet. Project managed by Lance Corporal Pagden, while program and software engineering has been done by Emlyn Pagden, with the presentation being produced by Staff Sergeant Williams.
You may or may not be aware that over the last 6 months or so, Lance Corporal Pagden has invested huge amounts of his own time into a computer system that basically automates the input of data that you need to do to get the demands from your modules to me on a module sheet. He's completely created the system from scratch. We've created a little presentation that shows you how to use the system. It does seem a little bit daunting when you first use the system. I tried it at first. I understand it now. Trust me, if I can understand it, then you can too. Please invest a bit of time in trying to get to learn it, because it will save you hours. Not only will it save you hours, it will save you time, because the key benefits of the system is it checks for the latest module online and it pulls all that information from Leidos. It collates the items that you need to demand across your modules, so there's no more checking for 5 tourniquets in this module and 5 in that module, making sure you count it up to 10. It does all that for you. Not only does it do that, it will put it on a demand sheet with the correct quantity, the correct denomination of quantity, i.e. each tube, tub. It literally does it all for you. You just need to invest about half an hour of your time getting to grips with the system. We've put this presentation together, or Lance Corporal Pagden has put this presentation together for you so that you can have it as a video. It's just coming in under 20 minutes, so please invest that time, and I promise you it will make your life a lot easier.
What is the module master sheet? The module master sheet is an effective tool that will increase efficiency of demand generation, help streamline the SQMS ability to input demands, and maintains up-to-date module lists, as well as reducing paper waste. Now, let's delve into how we can actually utilise the module master sheet. In this example here, we have a module master sheet that's been set up already for a completely different department. This may be a state that a user may receive it in, and these will be the steps to set that to a normal sheet that can be used for individual purpose. Step 1 would be to click the Reset Workbook button in the top right corner. The next step would be to read the message, and once content, click Yes, and this will reset the entire workbook. You'll notice now that at the bottom of the sheet, all of the tabs have been completely erased, giving you a blank canvas to work from. Now, to create your own individual module master sheet, all you need to do is click the button in the top left-hand corner. Nothing will happen for a brief period of time, and then you can move on to the next step. Once all the loading symbols have finished, such as your mouse pinwheeling, you can then click on Get Module IDs. This will bring up a list of modules broken apart in their individual areas. As you can see, where it says module source, it will then be followed by the appropriate department that your module may be held in. For example, ME standing for Medivac, while R1 stands for Role 1. Following that, there will then be the module number itself, which will be what you may be looking for in the department. For example, a 584, a 300, or a 501. To select the modules that you wish to add to your sheet, all you need to do is hold down the left control and use the left mouse click. You then click on only the first cell of each module that you wish to select. Once you are content that you have all of your modules selected, you can then move on to the next button, which is Get My Modules. You will now be presented with a summarised list of all the modules that you wish to generate for this sheet. The next step is to input the amount that you wish to generate per module. In this example, we're going to generate one 536 module, two 300 modules, and three 501 modules. Once you're happy with your module quantities, you're then going to click Create Module Worksheets. After a brief period of time, where there'll be a lot of screen flickering, you'll notice at the bottom that all of your module sheets that you have previously selected will have been generated. Next, we're going to click on Consolidate Sheets. What this does is it puts all of the items from all of the worksheets into an order that consolidates the amounts. So instead of having 4 field dressings across 10 modules, it'll just say 40. Once you've clicked this button, you'll come up with a warning message just stating that it's going to take a bit of time and that there will be a message popping up after. Click OK. Once again, click OK. Next, you can click on Create Demand Sheet. What this does now is creates another sheet that works with the consolidation sheet, but it puts it in an order that is appropriate for a demand material request form format. You'll notice down here at the bottom right, your demand sheet would have been created. You may have to click on the 3 dots to get across to the sheet, but it is there. Next up, click Update Demand Sheet. You'll receive a message asking if you want to create the defence material request forms or your demand sheets now. Go ahead and click Yes. You'll receive a message saying that this function has been completed. Click OK. So here we have the consolidation sheet. This is where all of the data has been surmised into an easy format that can be digested by the system. However, it also has a use for the user itself. On the left column, you can see there, module name. That there is where the individual modules are split into their individual sheets. For example, it will say how many items are in each 536 module, how many are in the 300 module, potentially in Alpha and Bravo load, and in the 501 module. And on the right, there is no individual module marker, it is just all the items in a oneer. This here is the demand sheet, and this is where it's been put into a format that is easy to convert into a defence material request form. As you can see, on the left it is in NSN order, allowing easy input for the SQMS. It is also in C and L item order, again allowing further input, and then finally the quantities at the end. Here we have the defence material request form. As you can see, as previously stated, they're all in NSN order, C and L item order, and it has all the quantities there. This is currently set up for say 6 blank modules, your 536, your 300s, and then those 501s. Now, you're probably thinking, that's all well and good for a blank amount, what if we want to start putting in our own individual quantities? Well, if you look across here, you can see the quantity, batch, and expiry columns. In this example, we're just going to fill out the quantities, and we're going to see how that affects our generation of defence material request forms. What we'll do now is click back onto sheet 1 and once again repeat the steps. Go ahead and click on the bottom left button, Update Demand Sheet. Once this warning box pops up, go ahead and click Yes to generate a new updated set of defence material request forms. And with this box, click OK. Now on this sheet here, you'll see a significantly reduced amount of items. That's because it should technically be completely blank. However, in its current version and current state of development, it has to display at least one value of code. Now, what I've done here, and I've done it for the 536, the other 300 modules, and the 501 modules, is I've changed some of the data to see how this updates the defence material request form. So as you can see here, I've reduced one value from 5 to 2, another from 1 to 0, and another from 2 to 1. Once again, we're going to go ahead and click on Update Demand Sheet. Click Yes to generate a new set of defence material request forms, and then click OK once the message has come up saying it's been completed. As you'll see here, a completely consolidated amount, split once again through NSN, quantity, and then C and L items has been generated that's easily digestible for the SQMS departments. Now, a big feature with this document that sets it apart from a lot of the others and the current ways of working is the fact that it can always be maintained up to date. So when you generate those initial Leidos modules in the top left-hand corner, you're actually receiving the most up-to-date version of that file. However, this will change over time, and we've already thought of a solution around that. Go ahead and click on the Check Leidos for Updates and Rebuild Modules button. On this message box, click Yes. Wait a fair bit of time as the sheet goes through and rebuilds all of the modules. As it rebuilds all of the modules, it's also going to update all of the lines of data that's currently held, so it doesn't mess with the demand material request forms. Once this message box has been clicked OK, click OK on this one as well. And then click Yes to recreate a new set of DMRs. And then click OK to DMRs completed. And then click OK on Module Update Complete. What this has done is re-gone through the sheet, rebuild everything, and it's also updated your defence material request forms with new items that have been added, so as not to catch you out. Now, there are two main advantages to using this sheet. One is that it saves time in demand generation, so it saves times for the soldiers, freeing up activities to be able to fulfil other duties. And most importantly as well, it streamlines the demand process for the SQMS department. So once again, they can attend their other duties without having to worry too much about the time-consuming aspect with filling in unorganised, unconsolidated demands. To look into the future of upcoming features that we're looking to add to this one in the short term is looking at out-of-date medicine recognition with warnings, as well as automatic demand updates with appropriate colour coding so as not to essentially catch people out. And then more customisation in terms of labelling modules to make it more personalised to an individual department. I understand 501 and 501 bracket 2 bracket isn't necessarily going to be everyone's cup of tea. And finally, we're going to try and make a smoother, more streamlined design, essentially in workings with how we have things like potentially James or MJDI. Now, where do we hope to take this? One of the big ones we want is integration with MJDI. It would be an absolute dream if we can have individual departments fill out their demands, submit them to the SQ, or even completely bypass that and just have them ready for authorization for input into NJDI where no user input is required and it's all done automatically. From that, we're also looking as well down routes of scannable medical material for faster, more reliable checking, similar to our armory systems at the moment, just to make things generally much faster that can then be done through not necessarily a scan gun, but potentially individuals' mobile phones, which can be integrated with the Wi-Fi that may or may not be coming to the current lines. And then we also want to make the module master sheet more user-friendly and easier to navigate as well as use. And again, this is going to require significantly more development outside the skills that we currently have at the moment between ourselves as individuals. Now, what we need is a dedicated team to maintain the module master sheet. At the moment, between the two of us working on it, we've only been able to sort of plant the seed that requires maintenance, watering and care to be able to help it grow into something much, much better than it can be at the moment. What we also need is a dedicated team that has the knowledge and connections to aid in MJDI integration. At our stage of where we are and how much influence we have, it's very difficult for us to be able to sort of attain this information as well as pathways to achieve this. Now, most interestingly, it will be good to look at the Forms survey response. Forms, being an online tool that was essentially run through the empowerment course from the OC of 19 Squadron, was a tool that was sort of presented to myself that allows for a opportunity to spread out questions across our squadrons and across the regiment to get an idea as to where we're at with our current demand process. In this case, I had 14 people that were able to respond. In the future, I hope to gain more responses so I can better build a sense of trend through the quantitative as well as qualitative data that we'll receive. Now, here we have demand process review, 5 minutes to make a change. As you can see, it took less than, on average, 5 minutes to complete with 14 responses. First things first, I came across the question of what is your department, e.g. troop, resource ward, or no squadron identification required. One thing that I didn't want is people to feel like they'd be tracked down or sought out if they gave away too much information. However, it's interesting to see that based on different departments that were provided, different responses were somewhat provided as well. Here we have is the various departments that we had. Majority seems to be troops, while as the FST department provided some of the more I'd say detailed feedback. On average, how long does it take to check all the medical modules? As you can see here, we had 3 responses at 6 hours to 12 hours, while another response came to 1 day to 1 week, and another 5 responses at 1 week to 1 month. Even down at 6 hours to 12 hours to check all of the medical modules within a department, that is quite a large amount of time that could be spent being redirected to other tasks. Say if we look in the sense of man hours in total, if we've got 3 departments, or 3 individuals rather, are saying 6 to 12 hours, and we imagine that those are spread across 3 different departments, we're looking at their 18 to 36 hours of man hours that could be essentially redirected to somewhere else. Number 3, on average, how long does it take to identify items for demand and fill out demand sheets? This is a big one as well, where essentially the tool that I've presented here, the module master sheet, will be able to make a massive dent in making this more efficient. So at its smallest, or at its shortest amount, is 1 hour to 6 hours, which is equivalent in terms of numbers of people's responses at 5 to the 1 day to 1 week. Again, if we're going to go ahead and put that into different terms, we can look at that as 5 hours to 30 hours up against 5 days to 5 weeks of time taken. On average for your department only, how long does it take for the individual processing these demands to input them into MJDI, such as your SQMS or even yourself? This one here is a question that I think I'd admit in the future, as it's only really relevant to those that can actually have access to MJDI, which in its current state is just the SQMS departments. However, it's interesting to see how people perceive how long it may take for them to receive their demands, with the most shocking being over 1 month for them to have them processed onto MJDI, or they feel that's how it's being processed from their perspective through their SQMS departments. Next, on average, how long does it take for your demands to reach your store after they have been submitted? It's pretty clear right here that over 1 month is the biggest consistent response at 9 individuals, which is the highest sort of feedback in terms of these questions that we've had so far. 9 people saying over 1 month to receive demands when we run routine taskings across the regiment. Also as well, we have how satisfied are you with the current demand process, with 14 people, or the 14 responses, all of them giving a negative response. Which area do you believe to be the most time consuming? Starting with the most time consuming at the top and least time consuming at the bottom. The most time consuming comes across as checking the medical modules, with the second being identifying items that need to be demanded, followed by filling out demand sheets, processing the demands through MJDI, and receiving your demands afterwards. Once again, not necessarily the checking the modules can this help, although it does aid in providing more up-to-date sheets rather than out-of-date ones that may be held in a sort of a troop archive, but it definitely helps with identifying items that need to be demanded and filling out demand sheets, which is perpetrator 2 and 3 in this current question. Next, we had if you were provided an easy-to-use system that generated up-to-date module sheets, automatically identified individual items for demand, and automatically generated all demand sheets in an order that made MJDI input significantly easier, how likely would you be to use it? 11 people agreed or suggested rather that they would use it. 2 not necessarily given a yes or no answer, and then one person providing feedback stated that no, it's a system that they would not use. However, in later feedback, that does become more clear as to why they felt they wouldn't use it. So here we have please provide any other comments that you wish to share, such as personal opinions, questionnaire feedback, or anything else. And we did get quite a few, so 5 responses there that were very beneficial in terms of perspective that they provided. So here we have comment number 1, electronically scanning items is the way forward. As previously suggested, this is something that we would like to go down the route of providing, but would require additional teams to be able to enable us to go down that route, especially in terms of how we might be able to synchronise that in the future with MJDI. Next, the mismanagement of MMSL is costing the regiment an obscene amount of money in terms of wasted man hours, over-ordering, chasing up demands, submitting CCARs, fighting over IT availability, using different systems for tracking and ordering, and we should not be using self-generated spreadsheets for the management of MMSL. They should be provided for us and fit for purpose. The only reason the squadrons have any kit any in-date kit is in spite of the system, not because of it, which is understandable as well. The last thing that you're going to necessarily want is sort of something else that you should need to be doing individually as an extra sort of task, when it should be something that should already be sort of available. That's kind of what this system aims to achieve. The main bottleneck occurs between the junior ranks and seniors. There has been put in place an enforced rule whereby junior ranks are unable to put in demands and must provide a demand sheet to a senior rank, who will then insist no demands are put in until multiple can be done at once. This means those coming back from using their kit, whether on a placement or a medical cover or simply items going out of date, are unable to stay on top of their own kit through no fault of their own. While it is understandable that this has been put in place to protect against historical over-demanding, it creates an environment where a busy individual has to continuously scrounge kit from other modules to prepare for their taskings, which in itself leads to confusion in the level at which all modules are creating another inefficiency when module lists do not match the reality of the modules themselves. Surely there should be a demand system compromise whereby medics can demand for their own individual module after a quick review by a senior to ensure the demands are not ridiculous. Again, this is something that this tool aims to achieve in making more efficient and a lot easier. Unfortunately, at the moment, it does take a lot of time for people to individually put in demands for individual modules, and that takes even longer when it gets to the SQMS department. The idea of this system is to consolidate those into singular sheets that can be submitted to the SQMS to make that a lot faster in terms of the process. That means that demands can be then submitted and come through a lot faster to the individual to help sort of minimise this bottleneck. What would be ideal in the future as well is provided that this is not necessarily done on a single terminal, but potentially either on the individual's phones or laptops, so that individuals can just open it up through whatever cloud storage based means are possible. So say for example on their personal device, and be like, okay, cool, my 584 has just been out, I've got it back in, I can individually check that myself, put it on the system, and then the SNCO, or the HOD of the department, can then receive that information and generate a set of demands when required. Number 4, the FST module database is also used as a location database, a movement manifesting system, a method of monitoring our EME, as James is erratic and the way we keep an eye on our equipment's sterility. If we had a separate system purely for MMSL, it would increase our workload comparing one database against the other. My main issue is that it normally takes months from when I submit my 2251 to its input into MJDI, and then there is no oversight on the items that do not arrive. I understand an extra system would be sort of a bit of a nose to then look at maintaining, essentially another mouth to feed in the workload. However, this isn't necessarily a case of of ease of storage for your information. It's ease of generating demands. It allows you to create your demands a lot faster and then submit them to the SQMS a lot faster. However, within the FST department, I understand is not necessarily as routine. So if it's not required, if it's not a requirement, and they're quite easily able to submit their demands and get a quick turnaround, then this system may not necessarily be a lifesaver for them. Number 5, continuous redemanding of items that does not arrive cause significant time management and administrative issues, as well as strain on relationships with consultants who are not aware of these issues. Resolving this by issue of explanation by supplier and automated reordering would improve department productivity. And this leads us quite nicely onto the conclusion that we've seen overall, to be honest. So the conclusion is that there needs to be more research to confirm a trend, as 14 participants is enough to give insight, but a lot more participants would provide a lot more data. However, from the information that we do have at the moment, we can see 3 obvious things. Number 1 is that there is currently dissatisfaction in the current way of working in regards to our demand process. Number 2 is that there is a demand for more efficiency in our current requisition process. For example, a electronic ordering system, as stated in the final comment just presented, and it seems more than likely that individuals will embrace this positive change. So thank you for listening. That brings us to the end of the presentation. If you have anything in terms of queries on overall how we came to create this, or what you'd like to see, or if you need any general help or advice with any of this, please feel free to contact us at any given time. Thank you very much.